Here we go. All right, now we're continuing learning Parshat Mish, the book which is called TorahOr, which is written by the first Rebbe of Chabad, who also wrote the book the Tanya, and he also wrote the Shulchan Aruch Harav. This is Hasidic discourses explaining the Torah in a way which will bring us to love God and to fear God and to believe in God and to serve God and to be, excited and happy about serving God, the creator of the universe. But first of all, we have to understand a little bit what God is and how close God is and how wonderful God is and how important God is, that God is creating us, and to actually feel this and to feel it as constantly as possible. That it shouldn't be some sort of a feeling that takes us out of the world. Exactly the opposite. It should inspire us more, motivate us more to do everything that we can in this physical world, the way that we do our business, the way we talk about people, talk to people, the way, all the normal things that we do, in addition, of course, to doing the Torah and the commandments, which eventually that's going to become the most normal thing. But the most, it says, to know God in every way. In other words, to make God a household word, to the point that the whole entire world, all mankind will worship only the Creator. I mean, it's not so, fantastic, unbelievable thing to do. God is creating everybody. And so everybody, just instead of worshiping some sort of a weird person that's going to take them into heaven, worship the God that's keeping you in the earth, that's creating you right now, that's making you for nothing, making you from nothing, that loves you, that provides for you, that gives you eyes and ears and nose and mouth and wind and breath and ideas, a brain to think with, and a heart to feel with and to love with. And the world is a pretty amazing place. Pretty amazing place. Just a human circulatory system, right? I just saw yesterday that the blood travels every day. What is it? In every person, blood travels something like 30,000 miles. That should make you pretty tired. Your blood travels around 30,000 miles every day. Check it out. Maybe it's a little bit less, maybe more. Something like 70,000 kilometers. It travels around the whole day in your system. That's pretty amazing. That's every human being, every animal, every plant, every this, right? some sort of a circulation system. I don't think that in the plants it's so dynamic as in the human, but so it's pretty amazing. So we can, but the most amazing thing is that God gave us the Torah and He told us how we can repay Him. We can repay Him for all this free life and existence that He's giving us. How we can repay Him. And we should repay Him, really. I mean, if you think about it, with love, if you love anything, there's some people that don't love anything. They could just depressed people. They want to go to the east or something and sit on a mountain. But most people have emotions, and emotions are a good thing. So if you're emotional about anything, you think anything is valuable, for sure you should be emotional about God who's creating you. It's something you have, nobody can take it from you. The most precious thing. Okay, so here we go. Eila Mishpatim. This is this week's Torah portion. Parshas Mishpatim. Ve'eila Mishpatim. These are the laws, asher tasim lifneim, that you should put before them. God says to Moses, I just gave you 10 commandments, right? I gave you some other commandments also, but now you're really going to start getting commandments. God says, I'm going to start giving you. In this week's Torah portion, there are, 57 commandments? How does it? Forget the number. We're going to learn this today. God willing, 3:00. There are 53 commandments. 53 commandments, 23 things you should do, and 30 things that are prohibitions. Huh? 23, what they call positive commandments. These are for the Jews. Non-Jews has 7 Noahide commandments. Even though the fact is that these mishpatim, according to a lot of people, according to the Ramban and others, that they are also relevant to the non-Jews. And as the non-Jews also have to obey all of the laws of ownership and damages that the Jews do. One day we'll have a class about that, especially when I know more about it. I mean, I've been studying this for a long time, and I still have to admit that I'm still pretty much in the dark about a lot of these Noahide commandments, exactly what applies to them 100%, especially in family laws and is prostitution forbidden? I don't know. I have to find out. But in any case, let's say take it for face value that all of the how do you say, human laws relevant to Judaism, family laws, things like that, and ownership laws, and anything that touches on, don't steal and don't commit sexual crimes. That's the 7 Noahide commandments. That also applies to them. So there could be these laws also apply to them. Anyway, we'll see. Let's go. Eile amishpatim, these are the laws that you should put before them. Ki tikne eved ivri, when you buy a Jewish servant. There's the law of the Jewish servant. The law of the Jewish servant, there's 2 ways a person can sell himself to be a servant. You can't be sold for more than 6 years, but a person gets sold, if he wants to, he can stay longer, he can stay 50 years, but until the Jubilee maximum. It says these are the laws that you put before them when you possess a Jewish servant. It says a Jew can be sold, either he can sell himself because he's poor, or he gets sold by the court if, let's say, he gets caught stealing, and he can't do reparations, so he gets sold. Like I say, only for 6. There's a lot of laws, but that's how this week's Torah portion begins. The law of the Jewish servant. Okay, there's a lot of sort of grammatical problems over here, which can only be solved by looking at this in sort of a Kabbalistic way. So let's look and see. Eila mishpatim, these are the laws asher that tasim, you should put before them. These are the laws that you're supposed to put before the Jewish people. God says to Moses, put these laws before the Jewish people. It starts off with the law of a Jewish servant and etc. This, like I say, 53 laws. Here we go. First law starts with the law of the Jewish servant, and then it has next that is the Jewish maid servant and how you redeem them. Then there's the law of the you're not allowed to. You have to treat your wife properly, and you have to provide her with proper food, and then you have to not. It's a prohibition. Don't hit your mother or father. Okay, a lot of laws. The first one is the law of the Hebrew servant, but it's grammatically incorrect. Look at the sentence. It says, these are the laws you should put in front of them. And then it says, and when you, it should be plural, when you singular, you're putting these laws in front of all the Jewish people. It should say, ki tiknu, when you, plural, possess a Jewish servant. That's the question the Rebbe is going to ask. When it says, these are the laws you should put before them, this implies plural, rabim. But when you possess a Jewish servant, this is referring to a singular. It should say ki yiknu or kutiknu, you should put it in front of them, when they purchase, or kotiknu, when you, plural. So obviously, you can't take it at face value. This does not mean the law is understood. It's talking about a real servant and everything, but this seemingly improper grammar here indicates there's something more, because you have to remember who wrote the Torah. God. Pretty hard to believe, but that's the fact. God wrote the whole Torah. Every word is written by God. Moses was just the scribe. He wrote it down. But every single word, every letter, if you have a Torah scroll and there's one letter not proper, we do not read from that Torah scroll. You have to fix that letter up. You have to put the Torah scroll back. Some people say it's okay to read if it's in a different book, right? There's 5 books in the scroll. So some people say, but that's not, nobody does that. The law is if there's one letter missing from the Sefer Torah, the whole entire thing is disqualified until you fix it. So obviously every single letter is proper. God wanted it to be this way. What's he implying to us? He's implying to us something deeper. These are the laws you should put in front of them when you, singular, possess a Jewish servant. This is referring to Moses. These are the laws that Moses, it says, Moses, you have to put these laws. These are the laws you have to put. Moses, Moshe Rabbeinu, we're going to call him from now on Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu, Olav Shalom, of blessed memory. Davka Yasim, he's the one that puts these laws lifneihem, before them. We're going to see the word lifneihem means inside of them. Hainu al yadei kitikne evidiri. How does he put these laws, the whole laws of all the Torah, inside? Lifnei means also inside of the Jews, by means that he transforms the Jewish people to be, each and every one of them, to be Eved Ivri, a Jewish servant. Okay, this idea of being a servant is very abhorrent to modern post-Napoleon world. But the fact of the matter is to be a servant, there's nothing really better than that. Nothing is better than to be a servant. Nothing is better to be a servant. Why is nothing better to be a servant? Well, it depends what type of a servant. If you're just put into slavery to somebody that you don't like, or the work that you're doing doesn't have any benefit to anybody whatsoever, so then to be a servant is not a good thing. If you're not getting paid, if you're working this, that's what communism is based on, right? You're with the working man is working and he's not getting anything out of it. That's being just a slave. That's not being a servant. A servant means that you have a master, or you have somebody that you really have tremendous gratitude to this person. And this person, he's doing something really wonderful. And you just want to be part of his, his core, his group, right? In America, there was, I remember when I was in university, there was the Peace Corps. Peace Corps. I think Kennedy started it. I don't remember. Peace Corps. They went to African countries and they did the Peace Corps. I don't know how much benefit it had, but that's not the point. The point of the matter is everybody really believed they were doing something good. And it could be they really were doing something good. But just that they could go and they could be the servants of this, right? Someone would tell them what to do, how to benefit the underprivileged people. Oh, this was the greatest thing in the world. To serve a cause, to be a public servant, right? The president of the United States is supposed to be a public servant. To be a servant, nothing better than to be a servant. If it's something you really believe in, you're really benefiting them. If you have a master that you really believe this person, right? To be a servant of, I don't know, Einstein, whoever it was. In World War II, there were these dictators, evil people, but everybody believed they were good. The Germans, they believed that what's his name was really good. Oh, they were willing to die for him just to be a servant. This is the greatest thing in the world. Nothing could be better than that. Okay, that was for bad. That was for destruction. That was for evil, for murder. But to be a servant for the creator of the universe, nothing, what can be better than that? We owe him everything. He's creating us for free. He's giving us our eyes, our nose, our mouth, and he's giving us the biggest gift of all, free will. And we can use our free will to actually serve the creator who's creating us, who's creating the whole world. There's nothing better than that. That's better than the Peace Corps. That's a creator. That's better than what the guys that were doing in Germany, just destroying. Oh, they were so excited. So how much more so we should be excited about serving the creator. The problem is who wants to do it? Who knows what it even means? That's the idea of Moses. Moses is the one that teaches us how to serve the Creator. And he teaches us there's a Creator that we can serve. But he has to put this inside of us. He has to put this feeling inside of us, that we feel that there is a Creator, that we feel that there is a Master of the universe, a King of the universe, Melech Olam, and that we can serve him with free will. You don't have to serve him. You don't want to. You don't have to. But that's what's called ingratitude. He's creating us. He's giving us everything. He's doing it for free. We can do all the sins in the world. We can worship idols, right? He keeps all these idolaters, keeps them alive, gives them benefits, gives them life, gives them happiness, gives them this, and also gives them the illusion, with the illusion that their gods are really right or the Torah is not right, who knows what. And nevertheless, he keeps them. That's tremendous gratitude we should have. Says the Rebbe, you really want to have gratitude to the Creator, you have to serve the Creator. But the only ones that really know how to do it, the only ones that feel the Creator sufficiently, intimately, is the Jews. And the Jews are supposed to teach the whole world that there's a Creator, that the Creator is creating them, and that the Creator gave the Torah. And non-Jews have 7 Noahide commandments. That's the way things are supposed to be. And that God created everybody differently, and everyone is unique, and everyone is special, and everyone is, is precious. Kativ, it is written, I have given food, Esav, I have given grasses in your fields to your animals. I have given grasses to your field and your animals. Okay, now who says these words? These we say in Shema Yisrael every day. Every Jew says there's a prayer, Shema Yisrael. We say it at least twice a day. This was the second paragraph. It says, if you do what I say, then I will give grass in the field to your animals. Who is saying these words? God's saying the words. If you do my commandments, then I will give grasses in the fields to the animals. Well, if you look in the book of Deuteronomy, the whole entire book was said by Moses. Moses does not want one time in the whole book say, God spoke to me and told me to tell you like this. Like all the other books. In the book of Exodus, from the time God started speaking to Moses about the Jewish people, God spoke to Moses and he said, say this to the Jews. The book of Deuteronomy doesn't say that. The book of Deuteronomy, it's all Moses speaking. This is what Moses spoke. Moses spoke all the book of Deuteronomy personally to the Jews before they went over into Israel without him. So these words that were being spoken here, this is Moses saying, if you do all of my commandments, I will give you the grasses in their time. I will give them to your animals. Now, everybody knew it was God saying. Moses didn't make any commandments. If you do my commandments, everybody knew it was talking about Moses. It's talking about God. Moses was saying over what God says, that the Shekinah, God's presence, was speaking through Moses's voice. That's the that's the beginning of prophecy in Judaism. Moses was like the ultimate prophet. Everything he said was exactly what God told him to say. Every letter. The other prophets weren't at such of a high exact level. The letters of the prophecies of Isaiah and etc., they don't have to be exact, even though they are exact. They don't have to be. It doesn't disqualify the whole book. By Moses' prophecy, one letter off disqualifies the whole entire Torah. But here Moses is saying, I will give grasses in your field to your animals. This is referring to Moshe, all of a sudden. That Moses, he's the one that gives grasses to the animals. What does that mean? What if you don't have any animals, huh? People live in the city, you have any animals? I don't have any animals. No, never had an animal. Wanted to have a dog. My mother didn't like it. No, my wife doesn't like it. Okay, no animals. I don't have any animals. Had a bird once, but the birds don't. In any case, Moses is giving grasses to the animal. What does that mean? It means Zeratius, Base Israel. Let's talk about the Jewish people. The Jewish people are animals. What type of animals? We're going to see a different type. What you think? The angels are also called animals, so it's not that bad of a term. Chayot HaKodesh. And yet it says, V'zarati et Beis Yisrael, Zera Adam, Zera Be'ema. I have planted the Jewish people. Some of them are the seed of man, some of them are the seed of animals. Sheish Beis Madrigas B'Neshamas Yisrael, there's two different types of Jews. Ha'echad, the first one are souls that are very, very high. B'Mailo Madriga. These are souls that are very, very sensitive and aware of God. Be'ema Nikrim Zera Adam, they are called human. She'ema Neshamas, that these are souls, Shenim Shechum and B'chinas Adam Elyon, that drawn down from the upper man. She'ala Kiseh, which is on the throne. Kaniskaleel Kasiv, that is like it says, Nase Adam B'Tzalmenu Kit Masenu. Let us make man in our image. That is perfect souls. What does that mean, perfect souls? Neshamas Tatzilus, souls which come from this dimension. The souls come from this dimension of Atzilus. They are called sons. Masha'enki and Neshamas Tabri, which are not called, not this case of souls which come from the lower three spiritual aspects. Bria is the world of the angels. Yetzira, the world of the souls. I'm sorry. Yetzira is the world of the angels. Asiya, this is Atzilut is the world of godliness. There are souls that come from godliness. Sometimes Jews are called sons of God, and sometimes Jews are called servants of God. Every Jew is a son of God. Every Jew is supposed to be the servants of God. But there are some Jews who really merit to this title of being sons of God. They act like the sons of God. What does it mean? Hainu kamosha Allah, the milas Adam, just like a person that has dat. A person is not an animal. Right? A person can be aware of something greater than himself. Kach elu and neshamas also leyeshlam dat gadol be'elokus. These souls, which are called men, they have a tremendous awareness of God. Upirish dat, what does it mean? Any deal of it doesn't mean intellectual knowledge. It says the man knew his wife. It doesn't mean he knew her intellectually. It means ela bechinas hargasha, feeling. A connection. So there are some Jews that they feel this is really existing in everything. In everything, in sports, in art, in science. You always get these people that are like tremendously better than everybody else. They're just in a different league than everybody else, right? You have some people that the boxers, the best boxer, nobody can even come close to them. In basketball and tennis, they're the greatest. Just no one's even close to. Everybody works just as hard as they do. Some people even harder. But these people just, something about it, they just, he's just the greatest tennis player, the greatest music. He's just the way he plays the piano, violin, nobody is like him whatsoever, right? He makes a concert, 1 million people come. Other people make a concert, 10 people come. And they could be equally as good, right? They as equally mechanically as good. But one of them just has something is there that just you can't explain it. Composers, some composers, you know how many composers there are? Thousands in the course of history. How many did they actually get played in the concerts? Right, 10, 20, who knows? Right, they play. The same thing in science. There's some people, scientists, he's just a guy just knows he's amazing. It just has a certain knack. Well, that's the way it is with God. There are certain human beings that they have a certain knack. They feel godliness. Of course, God is not like any of the other aspects. God is the creator of the whole universe. Science doesn't create anything. Music doesn't create anything. Sports certainly doesn't create anything. But nevertheless, there's people that have a knack in these things. So there's certain Jews that they have, that's what's called the tzaddikim. These Jews, they really feel godliness. Huh? There's some people that can go into a concert, they have absolutely no idea what's up. By them, it's the same thing as being in a supermarket. Right? They just hear this music. For this, you pay $100 to come in here. You go into the supermarket, you hear the same thing for nothing. But the same thing with sports. Some people, they couldn't pick up a basketball. They don't know which side to pick the basketball up. Right? They're just totally inept. The same thing with science, right? They don't understand nothing whatsoever. There's some Jews that have absolutely no idea. They don't understand how an airplane works. They have no idea how the thing works. They just get in and they go. Right? Most people explain it to them. There's what's called, what is it, aerodynamics to this. They don't know what they're talking about. Explain it to them too much. That you understand? No, yeah, I sure do. I'm never going to go on an airplane again. According to me, it doesn't work. The whole thing does. And inside of there's some people that just have no sense of these things whatsoever. The same thing with the Jewish people. There's certain Jews, which is the vast majority, that they just don't feel God. What do you want? They just don't feel it. They don't feel it. It could be they understand it. They understand godliness. It could be they even learn Kabbalah, they learn Hasidut. What can you do? They just don't understand. If a person really starts to understand God, what's the sign? He has love. He has love of God. He really loves, he's appreciating God so much. Everything that he gets is so grateful. And he feels so obligated to God. That's a servant. He wants to just serve God with everything he does. I told you the story. I mentioned the story. I think I told the story 50 times, maybe more. There was a chassid of the Rebbe called Reuven Dunim. And he went to the Rebbe and signed over the deed to his house to the Rebbe. Lubavitcher Rebbe. He loved the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And he signed the deed to his house over to the Rebbe. He lived in Haifa. Went to a lawyer and everything, gave the Rebbe the keys. And the Rebbe said to him, the Rebbe really liked him. The Rebbe said, you can come in whenever you want to my office. So he said, you really want to give me your house? He says, yes, Rebbe, here is the deed and everything. He says, if you really want to give me the house, you live in the house and do what I want you to in the house. Instead of giving it to me and you do nothing, sit back and let me do what I want. I want you to do what you I want you to do what I want. That's what a servant is. A servant is a person that he does what the master wants him to do. What does the master want him to be? A normal person, to have a job, to have a wife and a this, but it has to everything be according to what the Creator wants. Okay, so that's the idea of Moses. That's the idea of Hainu Kamosha Milas Adam Sheish Lo Das. Just like a person that he can have an awareness of something greater than himself. Kach Elu Neshamos, right? Like I said, there's some people that have a das, they have a connection to sports. One certain sport. This guy's the greatest golfer in the world. He just has a knack that nobody else has. Another person has a knack. He just has this. That's called dat. He's connected. He's connected to science. He's connected to mathematics. Whatever he's connected, connected to medicine. He's just connected to healing. Is just the greatest doctor. He knows. He can see. He can feel. There's some people that are like that with God. These souls have dat. They have a knack. They have a connection. They feel the Creator. They have a connection with God. Pirish dat. It doesn't mean a deal about it. It doesn't mean intellectual knowledge. Means feeling, like we're going to explain. And this is what, there's some people that have it naturally. A bay is the second type of people. These are zera be'ema. This is called the seed of animal. I know these are the neshamos, the souls, which are from the lower worlds. Bria Yetzir Nasiya. These are people that can be tremendous Talmidei Chachamim. They can be geniuses in learning Torah and explaining Torah. They can explain Hasidut. But it could be they could explain Kabbalah. This is like all of the souls in our generation, because the souls of Atzilut, these are called very, very high. Ve'im mu'atim, they are very few. Afilu b'dorot rishonim, even in the beginning, like if it says the Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says that in the generation of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, all of the people, and they're called the Tanaim. Those are the people that wrote the Mishnah and the Braitas and the Talmud, that all of them had the power to raise the dead. This is the least of them had power to raise the dead. Nevertheless, says there was none of them like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, they didn't use this power, but it says that they had the power. Nevertheless, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was, none of them got up to his ankles. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He was the greatest of the great. No, what does that mean? I mean, all these people were so holy, they could do all these tremendous things. Nevertheless, even in the first generations, these are souls, these are tremendously high souls, Atzilut. But the rest of the Jewish people, these are neshama she'ein lem dat. They don't have so much connection to God. They have connection, but it's not real. It's not as real. It doesn't mean to say she'ein lem seichel v'hasaga be'elokuz. It doesn't mean to say that they have no knowledge of God. Ella, but af kam she'ish lem seichel, even though that they have understanding, v'hasaga, and they grasp ideas about God. Shemesigim maskilim gadol sapri, they can understand the greatness of Hashem, mipisforim, from books, mipisofrim, and from authors. Hasag of Havana Gadola, tremendous understanding of God. How is God that enlivens the world and God is enlivening them? They can understand it, but they don't feel it. That's like everybody. They don't feel godliness. That's 99.999.9 whatever percent of the Jews. Look, and therefore, Nikra Behema, they are called animals. People like me, animals, not just people that are like me. People that have learned know much more than I do and have much greater knowledge than I do. I don't get up to their kneecaps in knowledge and awareness of God. And nevertheless, they don't feel God and I don't feel God. A little bit, once in a while, when we pray, you think, you sit and you think for 15 minutes, half an hour, maybe you get a little bit of a sort of a glimpse of what this, you feel it, a feeling of what's being spoken. They are called like an animal. Yesh lo ria b'shmiya. An animal sees, animal hears, understands certain things. Raksha ein lo das. It hasn't got any awareness of God. Kachu bechinas neshamos elo. Also these people. She'ein ben bechinas hadas. They haven't got any awareness of God. She'adat hi bechinas hergasha. A feeling. She'haskala niksheret. That your mind becomes attached, like you feel. That's the language of the man, like it says man and his Adam, the first man, he knew his wife. That's what it says. And the man knew his wife. That's the language used in the Torah. The man knew his wife. This means to be attached and to join. That gives birth to offspring. Alder says similar. It says it says from my flesh I can grasp what God is. I can really grasp what God is as though I see. Even though that it's impossible to really see God with your physical eye. What does it mean? He knows that he knows that he's got a soul. You don't know. You ever see your soul? Look in the mirror. You see your soul over there? What it is, he feels it. He can see that he's alive. That's the soul. When a person sleeps, it goes away. When a person wakes up, comes back to him. This consciousness, Giloy or v'chayos hanefesh. Right? How did what's called Descartes? The famous French philosophy. Kagato ergo sum. I am aware, therefore I exist. How does he know he exists? That's the basic truth that he came to. What's the basic truth that we can base all reality on? So said Descartes, which is not so. But anyway, that's what he said. Because I am aware, therefore it must be that I exist. I mean, maybe I'm being fooled, but there's an I that's being fooled. So it must be that I exist. That's what he thought. The fact of the matter is he's wrong, because kargato, if you're only aware, what exists is only what you're aware of, then you're not going to be aware of God. That's one of the big things of him also. Kargato, the fact is we are not aware of God, and nevertheless God does exist. And the godly soul feels this a little bit, but we're not aware of our godly soul. It's inside of us. We're part of it. We don't feel it. Now we're talking about Jews over here. Jews are called the sons of God, the servants of God. That's what we said. Every Jew, but they don't reveal this part of being sons of God. There was one that did, there's one whole big religion based on one Jew that said he was the son of God, and he got the whole thing totally wrong. I mean, totally the opposite of what it means to be the son of God. And that's when he went against the Torah, went against this. Okay, the fact of the matter is, I couldn't stop myself. The fact of the matter is being a son of God means you feel the creator of the universe, but you don't want to keep it to yourself. That's the idea of Moses. Moses wants every Jew to feel that he's the son, to feel that he's the son of God. It's the fact, but we don't feel it. A feeling of godliness. There was a great psychiatrist, and his name was Professor Viktor Frankl. I spoke a lot about him. I very admire him tremendously. So did the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And he was a big expert in preventing suicide. That was his big thing, preventing suicide. He had almost 100% success. Amazing. So, of course, it had to be very personal, but the main thing is that a person wants to commit suicide because he loses his humanity. He's not, and a human being is one who is able to rise above all confusion and uncertainty and pain and difficulty and guilt and everything. Is able to arise above it and say, I don't understand everything, but I'm a human being. A human being doesn't have to understand me. I feel that I'm alive. I feel. And life itself, to meet the challenges of life, that's something that's greater than anything in the world. Only a human being can do it. To meet the challenges of life. But first of all, you have to feel that you're alive. Here, the Rebbe is taking one step further. You have to feel the creator of life. This is the goal of Judaism, but it's a thing that's a very personal thing. You can't force somebody to feel something. You have to awaken, the person can discover it. This is the souls of Atzilut, these are souls which are tzaddikim, they feel the source of life. Like Job said, said, from my flesh, I can grasp God. What does it mean from my flesh? I know I have a body. I know I have a soul. I don't know what my soul is, but I'm sure that it's there. The more that you feel your soul, the more healthy you are. Once someone said to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, I have a very miserable life. And the Rebbe said, it can't be such a thing. It's impossible. Life is always happy. If a person that you feel alive, right? If you feel alive, then you have to be happy. As soon as you don't feel alive, you don't feel that constant, amazing, holy gift that's inside of you called life, then there's an opening for being unhappy. The problem is how many people really feel that? Says the Rebbe, says Professor Viktor Frankl, everybody can. What about feeling God, the source of all life? That should really make you happy. Who feels that? Unfortunately, almost nobody, but it's there to be felt. Even though that no possible thought can grasp God, in God's essence cannot be grasped. But the fact that God exists can be known and you can feel it. Namely, for instance, what we see that the worlds, that the worlds are like one big body. Now the Rebbe is going to explain us how to feel it, right? The Rebbe, he's the Moses, and he's going to give us a lesson and how he's going to give us a lesson on how to feel God. That's what Moses does. He feeds the animals. The whole world is like one big body. The world somehow or other is kept alive. The planets are spinning around over there and everything, and there's all these, right? Light and life in the world, and in the physical world, here we are, here, all the plants, the animals, the bugs. Hari Chayus, this life comes from Ein Sof Baruch Hu. All the heavens, the earth, everything comes from God. Hashofea b'hem kol rega, it's flowing into them every moment. Think about it. Haskala zu musegas the call. This is available to everybody. You don't have to pay money in order to get into the world. Here we are. Just look, amazing show going on all the time. When this feeling that God is creating the world and enlivening the world, this is in our soul. That you can feel from it. You can feel. Mamish, as though you feel. You can see godliness in the world. This is called dat. That's called dat. That's called connection. That's what it says. Who is a wise person, someone who sees what is being born. As though you can actually see with your eyes, everything is being created from nothing. Everything is being enlivened for free. God is doing it all. That's God. God is not the life that's coming into it. God is the giver of this life. God is the creator. On this it says, that you should fear God. When you don't think about this, and you don't feel it, that's called zera. Then you lapse into be like an animal. What does an animal think about itself? Even though that an animal, especially a human animal, has intelligence and he has intellect and he can even have grasp godliness, Begam Kol Yisrael and all the Jewish people, they all believe in God. And this faith is above this level of being attached to God. This being attached to God and feeling God, you're not necessarily going to give your life for this. You'll get excited, you'll have love. For faith, having faith in God, you could give your life for God. Could be. Nevertheless, this faith that every Jew has in God, this is called a Torah. This is just called a crown. Shu b'chinas makif. This surrounds us, and therefore a person, like it always brings all the time, is, it's from the Gemara and Bracha. It's really from Ein Yaakov, that a thief, maybe a Jewish thief, before there are such things, unfortunately, a Jewish thief, before he goes to steal, I know some. A Jewish thief, I shouldn't have done that. I don't know it. A Jewish thief, before he goes to steal, what does he do? He prays to God. He prays to God. He prays to God for success. He's a thief. Who made him a thief? God made him a thief. He doesn't want to disappoint God. He says, make me a good thief, God. I want to steal. It says in the Torah, you're not supposed to steal. Okay, it's a small detail. In other words, he has faith in God, but it doesn't come into the details. He doesn't come into the details. He has a feeling that he's a thief. He has a feeling that God exists. He prays to God. What about the details? You're supposed to, God gave you that feeling and the ability to be a thief so that you would defy that feeling, that you wouldn't do it. Right? He wants to awaken in you a new power called defiance. He wants, ignore that. That's written in the Bible. In myself, I feel there's God. I feel that I'm a thief. I pray to God for success. So it says that every Jew has faith in God, but that's called a crown. Like it says, Das Elokei Avicha, you have to know God. What does it mean? That by means of dat, connection, by means of this, and the world will not conceal at all. V'gam ahava, they'll be love. Shibam v'chinas das comes from this connection to God and seeing. There's nothing compared to God. So let's take the example of our thief. If this thief would think about God, well, I want to steal. I'm really good at stealing. I really want the money. And I also really believe in God. You know what? I'll give 10%, 20% of what I steal. I'll give it to charity. I'll give it to the shul. I'll give it to the poor. And all these things are really nice, right? It's all true. He does feel like a thief. There's no doubt about it. And he's a good thief. There's no doubt about it, right? But what about loving God? What about returning God to God what you owe him? Why should I return to God anything? What are you talking about? He gives me these things. I should use them. He says, no, that's not so. He uses, you should appreciate them and use them according to what the Torah says. If you really loved God, then you would appreciate him. You would do what he wants to. But the reason he loves himself, a person loves himself. Where is his love? In himself. His mind is directed to God, but his love is to himself. So if you would really have a connection to God, like he has a connection to himself, then he would love God and he would do what God wants. And that's what Moses is trying to do, to give everybody this connection, as we'll talk about, God willing, tomorrow.